Game 6 of the World Series is going down tonight. Here to make sense of it is our MLB panel, Rotowire's Erik, Halterman, and Paul Bruno. They're here to give their best DFS and sportsbook plays, a.k.a. Cover the Bases.
Let's go. First base, your captain in this DFS showdown is who, Erik?
Yeah, so as I've said throughout these playoffs, I always start with these showdown contests looking at, is there a pitcher I can trust to captain? Because if a pitcher is going to go deep into the game, they just score way more points on average than the top hitters. And I think there is. I think I trust Max Fried just enough here. He hasn't been fantastic his last two playoff starts, although in his last one he did strike out 6, walk only 1, and not give up a homer. So the hits were falling in, but it wasn't a bad start in every way. And overall, throughout the playoffs, he does have a 5.40 ERA, but his FIP is 2 full runs better than that in those 4 postseason starts. He's basically doing Max Fried things throughout the playoffs, which is strike out only about a league average amount of guys, but walk very few, just 3.2% walk rate in the postseason, and get an above average number of ground balls. I would not trust Luis Garcia to go deep on the other side, so I think if I was building an Astros base lineup, he wouldn't be my guy. He's just hasn't been good this postseason and is pitching on short rest. But I think Fried works, especially because the Atlanta bats are cheaper than the top Houston bats here. Houston has 3 of the 4 most expensive bats and 5 of the 7 most expensive. So you can actually pay up for Fried and still get Freddie Freeman and a lot of the best Atlanta hitters all in one lineup.
I mean, Fried's looked a little shaky his last 2 times out in the postseason. Paul, who do you trust to have in your captain spot tonight?
Well, you just helped me make my case, Emerson. I don't trust Max Fried. He was roughed up in Game 2. He gave up a number of hits and 6 earned runs. I don't like that line score, and he did the same thing the previous start. So I expect more of the same as he faces the power bats at the top of the Astros order in a game. That will give him fits again. I certainly don't look for Garcia. I think Erik is right. I don't look for him to go very deep into this game and can't trust him either. So I'm going to look for one of the batters, and I'm picking Yuli Gurriel, whose price is $11,700 for tonight's game. He's had his best year in the majors at age 37, and I'm choosing him to be the guy who delivers offense in at least one key spot tonight. He's been consistent home and away, lefty versus righty, and comes in hot with 15 hits in his last 37 at-bats. You know I love that. And I think the Astros will get some runners on base ahead of him in the 5 spot in the order. He'll be in position for some RBI opportunities tonight, and I say he makes good on some of them.
All right, Paul, let's move over to the sportsbook side of things. Second base is your favorite player prop. What are you going with?
I expect that we're going to see some balls leave the yard in this game, so I'm looking at the homer props tonight. And so I'll begin with, I want to show some love to the Braves, and particularly Canadian content with Freddie Freeman. He's been hot in each game of this. Got a hit in each game of the series. Has been on 11 for 35 streak overall with 3 homers in his last 10 games played. He's a solid power bat in the Braves lineup, and I say he gets into one tonight, paying off at $450. I already made the case for Gurriel, so why not say add him to the mix at plus 800? And finally, I'm a hockey guy first, so I'm going to go for the hat trick here and say that Jose Altuve builds off his game to success against Fried. And if he goes yard, that pays off at $450. If all 3 of these bets come in, I'm going to have a new wardrobe after this one.
Ooh,
I like that.
I like that. Erik, what's your favorite player prop on this slate?
Yeah, I'm also expecting some homers, particularly from the Atlanta bats. I think Luis Garcia was a lower ground ball guy during the regular season, but very low during the postseason, just a 24.2% ground ball rate. Just shockingly low. League averages normally in the low 40s. So he's almost keeping the ball on the ground at about half the rate that you'd expect most guys to do. And that means that balls are going to leave the yard if they get hit hard, and Atlanta has some guys who can hit it hard. You could look at home run props for guys like Freddie Freeman, Jock Peterson, Eddie Rosario. But I also like one I've been liking throughout this playoffs, which is the starting pitcher, Luis Garcia, to give up a homer and the Astros to lose. That'll pay out at plus 215. Atlanta winning is plus 115. So if you think the Braves are going to win the World Series here, and you think there's a 2/3 chance that they're going to hit a home run off Garcia before they knock him out of the game, which could happen quite early, which I think is the main downside of this one. But I think if they do win, there's a pretty good chance that they hit a homer or 2 in the early innings, then you just get a much better payout there than the normal line.
Hey, third base here, Erik. Are we going over or under a game total of 9? I feel like both offenses are as locked in as they possibly could be since the start of this series.
Yep, and I don't trust Garcia, as I've said throughout this show, just has been shaky. He has one good playoff start in there, but his overall numbers just quite poor. Far too many walks, far too few grounders. And then even Max Fried, while I did like him at the start, I think he's going to go deep enough that he will be a pretty good captain choice here. I wouldn't consider him perfectly reliable either. As has been mentioned, he had a couple bad starts this postseason as well. So all it takes is one of the starters to be off. Given the talent in these lineups, that's all it takes, I think, to hit the over, and there's a decent chance they're both off.
All right, Paul, what do you think, man? Any value here in this run total?
We're all on the same side of this equation, Emerson. I say yes to going over the 8.5 runs in this one. As I said earlier, Fried didn't fool him in game 2. I don't expect anything different tonight, and we already panned Garcia's recent struggles. Guy's got a whip over 1.5 in his last 10 outings, covering 45 innings. This pitching matchup tells me that I should expect plenty of early offense. Don't forget the fact that the DH spots will bolster both lineups in an AL home park. That adds to the offensive possibilities. It can be a lot of runs scored tonight.
Again, total now sitting at 9 on the DK Sportsbook, everybody.
And odds and lines are subject to change, so keep an eye on that. As the day continues.
Kind of what sports betting does.
All right, finally, home plate, Paul. So who you got? Are the Braves finishing it off, or are the Astros forcing a Game 7?
I picked the Astros at the start of the series, and I'm not going to get off that train of thought even at this stage. From the answers to my first few questions, you're likely heard a couple of clues that will tilt the tables in favor of the home team, and we're going to see a Game 7. This is a spot which should favor an experienced home team that managed to get the series to come back to their home park. I have to wonder if that aspect will get to the heads of the Braves as they deal with the crazy crowd noise and how close they are to the big prize.
All right, what do we think, Erik? Who you got?
Well, I did say Atlanta in 6 before the series, so I could just stick with that and call it analysis based on not paying attention to anything that's happened throughout the series. But I think even if I do, I still think we look at Atlanta in 6 here. I think it's a surprise to me that Atlanta is the underdog, and they've actually been, I think, moving even more towards the underdog. It was plus 105 when I checked last night, plus 110 the first time I checked this morning, and now it's plus 115. Not really sure why it's moving in that direction. Again, Luis Garcia pitching on short rest has been quite poor. The Astros don't necessarily have that shutdown bullpen that we've seen some of the previous World Series contenders have. I just don't think they're going to be able to hold off Atlanta here. And I think I trust Max Fried just enough that really I think Atlanta should be maybe minus 105, minus 110, minus 115 here. I'm not really sure why you're getting plus money with them, but I'd be very happy to snap that up.